And tonight, a former high school coach is now filing a lawsuit against Knox County Schools.
Lamar Brown says the school district ruined his reputation. Harry Sullivan in the First Alert Center breaking this suit down for us. Tell us what you learned.
Yeah, a lot of information. Lamar Brown filed the suit late last night, naming Superintendent Dr. John Ryswick, Knox County, the county's Board of Education, and Knox County Schools. Brown was the coach for the West High School football team, of course, when two assistant West coaches were accused of child sex crimes in 2025. That was Chad Brooks and Richard Scott Shaver. Brown says the school system used him as a scapegoat, even though he didn't have any authority over the coaches at the time and didn't play a part in their hiring. Their cases are still moving through the court system. Brown himself never faced any charges or accusations of inappropriate conduct. In the suit, Brown claims there was a letter in which Ryswick falsely claimed Brown hired and supervised Shaver and Brooks and was guilty of a lack of oversight of them. The suit also says Ryswick implied Brown was being investigated by law enforcement for either failing to report those allegations or trying to cover them up. The suit asks for damages like back pay, even reinstatement. Some pay into the millions. We did reach out to Knox County Schools for comment. They have not responded to our requests. They typically don't respond with a suit like this, but very interesting. A lot of depth to this. We're going to keep following it and bring you the latest.
He did take the blame for what apparently someone else did. It'll be interesting to see what the courts decide with this. Harry, thanks.